What does a full-time pastor go through? I don't know. I honestly do not know. All I know is that the average income for a full-time pastor is $49,000. That's not a lot. I bet that doesn't even come with benefits. But do you know what does come with benefits? A video on this channel. I'm LT and this is Backpack Religion. I managed to pull a few strings and was able to meet with my pastor friend Jeremy out in Pittsburgh. You may recognize him from another video, link in description below. After several hours of driving and a few pit stops, I was able to make it to my destination. Yo, 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 what's up?
He's here.
I'm here with...
What's up, YouTube world? Welcome.
This is the vlogging world.
I guess so.
Dude, you live in the back of like nowhere, man. Mm-hmm. And at this point, you may be wondering, what specific questions do I actually have about full-time pastors? Because don't pastors just read their Bible all the time and preach sermons? You would think so, but no. Actually, I found out that's not just what they do. They're also apparently accountants, and musicians, and tech guys, and wedding planners. And so my first question is, what do pastors actually do other than preaching sermons? Because 9% of the time, I think that's what pretty much everyone thinks about first when it comes to pastors. That or mega millionaires and bestsellers. FYI, that only makes up about 1% of the pastor population. Less than 1% actually. Second question, home life. What's it like? When Pastor Jeremy isn't doing ministry-related things or shooting a video for my channel, what is he doing? What's his family life like? These are the type of things I want to know. And the final question, why was I called out in his sermon? I honestly did not know that I would be mentioned in his sermon, so that came as a surprise to me.
A friend of mine came to visit this weekend. We're YouTube buddies.
And yes, that weekend I visited, he had the sermon for that Sunday. So I was in for a treat. Now that we're through with the questions that I have, let's jump to a less enthusiastic and more tired version of me. Good morning, everyone. I'm hungry. Let's go eat.
Good
Morning.
Egg sandwich. Here's the one right over here. SPK, the way that it's made on my own, salt, pepper, ketchup.
Do you have any morning juices?
Oh, unfortunately, no. We do have sparkling waters that have all different flavors. Oh, here, come down. I'll show you that. He hasn't seen the drink fridge.
The whole fridge is there.
It's a whole fridge.
I mean, I would assume. They call it the drink fridge.
Hence the name. The drink fridge.
Wow.
So, Spindrift, sparkling water, Waterloo, the Zevia, you got Pellegrino, which are probably more morning-y, very flavorful.
We'll go blood orange, black raspberry.
Yeah,
Sounds like my style.
It's as close to orange juice as you're gonna get.
That's right. The day started with breakfast, like any sane person starts their day. And although Jeremy apparently doesn't believe in juice and I had to drink flavored water in the morning, the breakfast was rather delicious. And I at least got one answer to my second question from Jeremy's two adorable daughters at the breakfast table.
My favorite movie is Avatar 8.
That's not a movie, that's a TV show, and I'm glad that Avatar is your favorite film.
Avatar. Mark that down as something that Jeremy does for fun. And although I never watched Avatar, I can say for a matter of fact, the funniest character in it is Sokka.
My favorite person that doesn't bend and silly is Sokka.
I am convinced, and you cannot tell me otherwise from this point forward. But shortly after that discovery, Jeremy and I headed out to shoot the video I definitely did not mention already twice in this video. And I will stop mentioning it from here on out. And on the way out, I realized how much Jeremy's kids love him.
Love, thank you. Please, go. You get a day with mommy. That'll be tomorrow. You'll be with daddy all day tomorrow.
They did not want him to leave. He spends a lot of time at home, not just for work, but also to help take care of his children. Helping break down a stereotype of pastors ignoring their kids or not spending enough time with their family. I can't speak on behalf of all pastors, but Pastor Jeremy seems to do a pretty good job with balancing the two. After Jeremy said farewell to his family, I had the chance to ask him a few questions on my mind.
Because kids, I have to leave the house at 8:45 every morning to get them off. So everything has a rhythm to the morning. Yeah, so we live just about a mile from the church. I love living in the community that we serve in. I can't imagine. I've commuted and done other stuff, but there was a time we were 25, 30 minutes away, and we hated that. So, but oftentimes, even though I'm this close to the church and the office, I will work from home with the two kids, and I'll bring them into the office usually twice a week, and we'll just run around. And one of the things I love about that is it gets me a chance to allow my kids to see and be a part of the church, and not just church is something that daddy does for work. Instead, it's more than that. So, oh, Al is already here. Yeah, I don't know what time people are. There's Al. He's doing the sound for the church, or for the wedding today. Oh, there are some people here already.
Oh boy.
I didn't know how early things were.
We're going to be invading.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, there's also a men's Bible study this morning. Ah, that's what Al's here for. I'm trying to think, because we have a men's Bible study on Saturdays. I do a dad's Bible study on Fridays with some of the middle school and high school dads. To be clear, they're not middle schoolers who have kids.
Middle school dads come into the church.
But yeah, so you'll see a number of our elders will be here this morning as well.
Alrighty. Bible studies. Add that to the list of things a pastor helps oversee. Speaking of which, we actually tried to interrupt the Bible study while it was happening, but it already finished by the time we got there. So Jeremy and I did something else instead that's much more exciting. Administrative work. This is life of a pastor. The exciting part. This is the plot twist that we didn't expect. Administration.
Plot twist. Administration work.
Oh, we can look at the receipts. Up close shot. How much are they spending? How much does an average church spend?
Oh, I did have.
Are the Presbyterians wealthier than you thought? Yes, they are.
Yeah, these are most of the receipts from our Kentucky missions trip is what I'm going to be going through here.
Mark that down as another task for a pastor, even though it may not be the most exciting of tasks. Pastors don't only help make sure that the sermons get preached on Sunday, they also make sure that they have enough money to pay the bills. While I make sure to always cure my boredom, the luxuries of being a YouTuber. And I know not every church functions the same way, but a lot of small churches with small staffs do rely a lot on their pastors to cover a wide swath of tasks. And administrative work happens to be a common one. And also bell ringing, apparently.
Here is the bell. Listen, let's see if we hear it. I don't want to pull too hard. We'll go harder. So imagine that at 3 a.m. That's happened at a church lock-in before.
Which I know only applies to churches with bells. And I know Jeremy probably isn't normally ringing that bell, but he did in the video, so I'm adding it to the list. Then after 2 exhaustive rope pulls, we headed home to relax. That was until... So explain to me why we're heading out?
So... So we have volunteers who are running the sound for a wedding, and they've run into technical issues, and I'm the guy. Time's a large part of your job is troubleshooting when stuff goes wrong, and when you have good volunteers, you got to support them. I was hoping to not have to run up for the wedding today, but better this than it all fail. That's what happens. Just snag a spot real quick.
Reserve parking, sir.
Reserve parking.
The pastor also can take up reserve parking whenever he
Hey,
wants.
I don't have a pastor's parking spot. So this is... Actually, let's go here first. But I want to grab this because that's obnoxious. Yeah, funny story. We used to have a fire pit out here. We realized it's way too noisy with all the traffic. This will be the... If the other iPad doesn't work, this is the backup. is... Remember when I said I was having trouble with the internet? It might have been trying to update when that went wrong. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. Like
I see that.
the mouse pad of my children hanging out at the church. Okay.
Problem solved right here. This is the man. This is what a pastor does for his people.
Yes. The other in your job description.
Technical genius.
No, don't heap too much praise. Pride comes before the fall.
Also part of pastor life, constantly quoting Proverbs. Emergency tech man. Check that off the list as well. Plus, emergencies in general, I suppose. If anything goes wrong at the church, Jeremy at the very least is going to be aware of it, and in many cases will have to get involved in some way, shape, or form. And if your church is constantly holding events, that may mean you may be called upon quite a lot when you don't expect it. Luckily, in Jeremy's case, he lives only a few minutes from the church, so he can be there quickly. He lives so close, in fact, and he was able to get that job done so fast, he still was able to make it back home in time for his neighbor's housewarming party. Then after an hour or two, we were able to watch some YouTube until Jeremy had to put his kids to bed and go downstairs to study for his sermon. All right, fam. It's like 10:40. I'm about to head to bed. Jeremy is studying for his sermon tomorrow. Maybe I'll go interrupt him just a little bit before I go to bed, ask him how he's doing, and ask him a couple questions, and go from there. Let's see what happens. What's up? How's the studying for the sermon going?
Just going through, highlighting. I like to make sure if there's anything I want to pop out off of the manuscript that I do that. So
How many hours do you normally take to prepare for a sermon?
depends upon the text. It can be anywhere between 5 hours if it's a pretty easy text, no research, but this one's probably looking more like 10 between all the reading and everything else. So
It's also pretty late at night right now. Do you normally stay up this late studying?
well, I usually like to read my sermon before I go to bed. That way it's like the last thing I think about before I go to bed, then I can wake up. So
Yeah. All right. Now it's time for me to hit the sack. It's been good. There's a part of you that thinks that like being a pastor wouldn't involve that much work, but when you think of all the people that you have to care for and all the responsibilities of taking care of building, taking care of people's problems, weddings, all the funerals, and depending on how big your church is, there's a lot that goes into it. And he's been up early in the morning and going to bed late at night. I'm tired, so I'm going to bed, but he's still up studying. But yeah, see you in the morning. Sunday, the big sermon day. Jeremy had the morning to prepare while still having to take care of his family until it's time to pack up and go to church. After he helped the worship team get ready and made sure everything was in its proper place, he was ready to go and preach his sermon.
No one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, except the Father alone.
Think about that for a second. We'll come back to it. And then second, we will address what does Jesus mean about the days of Noah. I think it will strengthen our faith. And I think it will further our desire to fulfill the Great Commission.
He nailed it, in my very biased opinion. And I don't mean to brag, but I did get an honorable mention. Just saying.
So let me end with this. A friend of mine came to visit this weekend. We're YouTube buddies. We met through YouTube. If you remember back earlier in the year, I traveled out to New Jersey to be on a panel with a bunch of other folks who make digital content to try and glorify God. Whether or not you recognize him from the YouTube videos, that's fine. You can come up and say hi to him later. He might want to ask you some questions. If you want to be on camera, you're allowed to do that. But I had a date on the calendar. I knew when the house needed to be cleaned by. I knew that I needed to make sure by Friday at 7 p.m. I wasn't rushing around, taking out garbage, doing all the extra things, because kids need to be in bed. No. Did I put off some of it till pretty late? Yeah. I didn't start cleaning 2 weeks ago because I knew I had till Friday. When did I start cleaning? Probably around Monday afternoon, but mostly Friday morning, right? Are we any different?
I didn't realize I was such a noble guest that I required a full house cleaning, but hey, he must know that I'm famous and carry a lot of clout. Not at all. I'm just a guy interested in learning more about the world around me. And today, we all got to learn more about what it means to be a full-time pastor. If you missed it, they are full-time administrators, tech guys, public speakers, teachers, counselors, officiators, cleaners, organizers, and musicians. Plus at home, they are often husbands and fathers and regular people trying to live their Christian lives the best they can. And hopefully all that gives you a greater appreciation for what a full-time pastor has to go through, especially at a relatively small church. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and let me know where you would like me to go next. And if you click that notification bell, you may be alerted that I'll be visiting a Latter-day Saint temple or another mosque. We'll see. Who knows? I'm traveling all over the place visiting different religions and trying to learn more about them. And I may or may not have mentioned the specific things I mentioned for reasons, but we'll see. Until next time, farewell.